This is one of the most fast-paced, action-packed shooters. Brings to mind Unreal Tournament, old school Quake, bringing back some of those amazing weapons like the flak cannon, mixed in with glorious feeling gunplay and mechanics, with a multitude of epic upgrades, brutal enemies, and silky smooth, futuristic parkour elements. We're going to dive in. It's called Metal Eden. Huge shout out to PlayOn and Rycorn Games for allowing me to check out this demo and sponsoring this video. Absolute legends. The game wastes no time, throwing us straight into the chaos. You play as ASKA, a hyper unit, an elite android built for high-intensity combat with a digitized human psyche that can be rebooted and reprinted endlessly. Hence the name hyper unit. You're deployed on a suicide mission to rescue a civilization that's trapped within MOEBIUS, a vast orbital city turned into a deadly labyrinth thanks to its corrupted creators, the engineers. The setting is a visually stunning dystopia, sci-fi world, brimming with a cybernetic atmosphere. The demo for Metal Eden is available right now. You can access it on PC, Steam, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S. Players can jump into Mission 0 and Mission 1. Mission 0 introduces the basics, teaching you how to dash, grapple, hover, and rip cores like a cybernetic legend. And Mission 1, Paradise Lost, raises the stakes with layered combat arenas, tougher enemies, and a full upgrade system, which we'll come to very soon. The full game officially launches on May the 6th, 2025, but this free public demo isn't time limited, so you can jump in anytime and check out this amazing game before it's released. But the demo doesn't muck around. We're thrown straight into MOEBIUS, armed with our Hertz AP, a rapid-firing SMG-type weapon with unlimited ammo. The only drawback is we have to pay very close attention to how much heat we're generating. The longer our fingers on that trigger, the more heat is generated, causing for quite a long reload time. With this glorious weapon in our hand, the first enemy we're introduced are the small little tiny guys called scrappers. But check out how much blood and gore is in this game. The thing you'll notice instantly is how good the weapons feel, and getting headshots and the mixture of movement and gore is just a beautiful orchestra of death. Performing a melee is going to stagger the enemy, also do quite a bit of damage. Very soon after you start the demo, we come across almost my favorite weapon. It is a hand cannon called the U9 Supra. And once you get the upgrade to charge this bad boy, landing these one-tap sniper kind of shots feels freaking amazing. They've really nailed how the guns feel, particularly the U9 and the shotgun. It's got weight. And a side note, one thing I really was impressed about and enjoyed is how scaling the difficulty in this game, it doesn't turn the game into a bullet sponge, annoying repetitive game. It basically makes you a glass house and you're very fragile. And that's how they've kind of balanced the damage out. And it is a brutal experience, but so much fun. But you pick up the U9 Supra. It's a large caliber pistol designed for those one-tap headshots. We're introduced into the core element that sets this game apart to others. And funnily enough, the mechanism is called cores, which we find our core that we can use ourselves as a weapon off what appears to be a previous version of ourselves. So there's this weird kind of crazy scene where you're looking at what could be another version of ourselves. But with this core, at least early on, we can do a couple different things with it. We can use it to rip the cores out of other enemies that aren't heavily armored, instantly killing them. If they're in range, you can just rip their core out, ending them. And then you have an option to either throw it like a grenade, doing a mad splash damage, or we can consume it, integrate it into ourselves, power us up, and do a devastating melee attack, which is a brutal combo, or use it as a power-up for extra speed and damage on our weapons. So a lot of utility. The game becomes this crazy mixture of really fast movement, ripping out cores, then trying to judge if you need to consume it to power up or if you want to throw it like a grenade. And it all comes at you so fast. So it really keeps you on your toes and you have to constantly be considering each move, particularly on the higher difficulties. It's brilliant. And within finding these two new weapons, the U9 and the core, we're introduced to two new enemies, the slasher, the enemy that kind of like has knives as hands, and then the scavenger. This enemy type's particularly difficult as it comes with armor, so you can't rip its core out. And that kind of element will be probably pronounced within the game with different types of enemies. So this is where a lot of the fun comes in. You got to rip out the core of the scrapper or another different type of enemy. You can assume that and then try getting close without taking too much damage and unleash on the scavenger, who will detonate once he's destroyed. And staggering the enemies in this game are going to cause them to be quite weak, taking extra damage for a few moments, which is going to be absolutely critical to tackling the first sort of little mini boss. Not really a mini boss, but the next enemy we're introduced, which is called a leaper. This guy has quite a few abilities. In this part of the map, we really realize how mobile the enemy is. The AI is scripted in a way where they can pretty much get to anywhere you can, and they can do it very quickly. And since a lot of the enemies in the beginning and probably mixed in later are melee focused, you really have to be mindful of your spacing and your distance, and your map awareness has to be on point, because you can jump across to the other side while trying to avoid the leaper and his destructive, pulverizing, electromagnetic shock slam down, or whatever you want to call it. You got to also be worried about the little guys who are going to be jumping all over the room. And that's why all these elements together really do make this a freaking fun game. Because in this room, we're running around the walls, jumping around, trying to do certain actions to pick up ammo and health. And this is where this sort of the Doom aspect comes into. Not just the crazy fast movement, but certain actions and upgrades are going to yield the enemies dropping health or ammo. So from what I can gather, doing a melee attack is dropping mostly health and a little bit of armor. And for the most part, it looks like ammo is picked up only off the ammo drops that are found across the map. But in some instances, ammo does drop. I haven't quite figured it out. But that's one of the mechanics you're going to have to be balancing out, using a combination of melee and ranged weapons, as well as ripping out cores, powering up, or using them as grenades, with a heavy emphasis on keeping track of your ammo. Which brings us to portions of the demo like this part here that really emphasizes on movement, agility, and constantly being a hard target to hit. And these areas are some of the funnest as you're jumping around like a monkey, and we're introduced into the enemies that have ranged weapons that fire like a little burst. Not sure what these guys are called. There might be elite slashers, as well as these drone guys we'll have to battle, and they kind of come in swarms. But this part of the map definitely gives me a reminder of old school Unreal Tournament, using all the different grav jumps and being able to double jump. It's just a lot of fun wrapped up in a very modern game. A bit further on, we pick up the shotgun, and oh boy, it's not a good game unless it has a good shotgun. And they've absolutely nailed it. A devastating weapon that's particularly potent against taking out armor on certain enemies. There's also instances where there's these one-time pickup weapons like the plasma machine gun. That's what I'm going to call it. You can pick this up, and for a limited time you can fire unlimited shots, but it takes ages to charge up. It does kind of reminded me of the Halo Gatling gun, as it kind of introduces that kind of mechanic. So it does make you wonder further down the track what other weapons we'll get, as there are a lot more. And within the demo there's only 2 levels or 1 level, as you sort of have like the intro and then the first level. And this game consists of 8 levels in total. So it's not going to be a huge game, but it's going to be super action-packed and have a lot of rich and fun mechanics with weapon upgrades. And how do we upgrade our weapons? Well, we need to collect dust. So every time you kill an enemy, depending on the enemy, will dictate how much dust we get. So for instance, those little scrapper guys, when we take them out, we get 15 dust, and it scales up. So the harder the boss, the more dust we get, the more upgrades we can purchase for our weapons. Now, not only do we need to get dust, once we unlock certain upgrades, we're going to need to complete challenges for those weapons. It might be kill 30 types of enemies to get the next shotgun upgrade, or get a certain amount of headshots. Those kind of things will allow us to unlock the various upgrades. And the upgrades on these weapons are sweet. Here's a little trick if you do want to muck around and get in all the available upgrades for all the weapons within the demo. Early in the game, there's an area where we're introduced to the core mechanic, where we have to rip out 4 cores. However, if you don't rip out any of the cores, you can basically farm all the enemies for as long as you want. So you can gain so much dust. And this will allow you to purchase all the various upgrades to muck around with. So with that little bit of a sneaky tip, let's check out some of these really mad upgrades. One thing that's cool about this game is as you upgrade the weapon, it can change the weapon's appearance. So the shotgun goes from looking like this to this much more futuristic looking version. But by far the best upgrade for the shotgun is when you change it to the TAS-9 flak. Changing it into the flak cannon, which unleashes pellets. They're going to be able to bounce around off the environment. You can upgrade it beyond that to add more pellets and more bounces to the final upgrade, which is a passive, giving higher dart penetration. Brutal. But another really fun upgrade to note is getting the chain effect on the U9, where the laser can jump onto multiple targets, and this becomes an infatuation, as using this just feels so good. Getting a headshot and then it collecting multiple enemies, it's brilliant. It's right up there with the flak cannon, just being so much fun to use. Now, one thing that I've left closer to the end of this is something crazy important and game-changing but we get such little access to it in the demo, and that's our perks, or what is called our core level, and it's split up into 3 categories. Core ripping, all focused about making the core mechanics, or ripping the cores out and the grenades, having a huge different array of effects. Upgrades like the double core extraction radius, where we can rip out the cores from way further back than normal, and there's tons more. And in the demo, we only get 2 core points, 2 or 3 at max, I think, so we really don't get to muck around with these much. There's also the bodysuit, and these kind of upgrades will help our speed, as well as add a slow-mo mechanic. And this slow-mo mechanic in this game is so good because of all the gore and blood. And since it's so fast-paced, slowing this down a little bit and landing those headshots is freaking unreal. And the slow mode upgrade is called Combat Focus Mode. We can hit Q, slowing down time. Then if we go on to the core power, we have bodysuit upgrades. These are centered around things like throttle optimization, which will increase our movement speed and air control. Automatic reload. This one's really cool. It will reload the weapon if it's in the inventory and not used for 10 seconds. So the gameplay is going to be so smooth. In some cases, eliminating reload altogether. Core explosions causes enemies to drop more ammo, and there's just so much here. We can't go through them all, but a really cool system adding so much variety and combinations to your builds. So depending on your playstyle, you're really going to be able to tailor and fine-tune the mechanics you prefer to certain builds. There's going to be builds that are going to be much more potent than others, as I don't think we'll be able to unlock everything in one run. I think we'll kind of have to kind of pick and choose, but not sure about that. We'll have to wait for the full game. But when you combine all these elements, insanely cool weapons and great upgrades, a very rich and numerous perk system, along with very fast combat, engaging and intelligent enemies and AI, infused with a cyberpunk hellscape, it all makes for a really epic, fun game. And I really mean that. This game is awesome. And there is a speedrun challenge right now with up to $1,000 up for grabs. It's running from the 8th to the 15th. I'm going to be giving my best crack at this. First place getting $500, second place $300, and third place still getting $200. So this is epic. Speedrunners are going to go wild for this. I highly recommend this game and giving the demo a crack, and maybe even consider entering this speed run. It's going to be a lot of fun, high stakes, but some epic prizes. Links and all the details in the description, which leads us in the demo to a final room, which is absolute chaos. Played this through on Brutal, and it was extremely difficult as not having a lot of experience, but I thought I'd leave you with some gameplay. But this kind of gives you a good little overview of what to expect for Metal Eden and what it has to offer. And there's going to be so many more new enemy types and weapons. It's really only just a fraction of the game, but I'm really looking forward to it. And if you did get anything out of this, consider liking, subscribing. Thanks very much. Let me know what you think about it. Is this a game you'll buy? What do you like about it? What you don't like about it? But definitely check out the demo, then make up your mind. Thanks very much. Peace.
Overdrive active. Final wave incoming.